Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 2020 podcast, bringing clarity to optometry, business, and life. I am your host, Dr. Harbir Sayan. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me, guys. As always, I truly appreciate the support. The podcast has been growing thanks to everybody tuning in and sharing it with their friends and family. And as always, I always have one little favor to ask you right off the top, which is if you do get some value, which I know you will for sure today, please do share it, take a screenshot, post it up on Instagram, or, leave a comment, leave a review, and tell a friend about it, because we're going to be talking about marketing moving forward. This is the very first episode in the series of the March Marketing Madness series that I'm excited to bring to you. I've spent a fair bit of time speaking with marketing, digital marketing experts over the last few years for different reasons, whether it's my own e-commerce brand that I started, whether it's for my personal branding, whether it's for our brick and mortar business. And I love to share those pearls with people as much as I can, but it's not the same as hearing it directly from the experts. So that's what I want to do with you guys here in March. And for our very first episode in the March Marketing Madness series, I have my lovely guest and friend, Caley Dimmock, who is a Canadian marketing expert, photographer, and the founder of Dimmock Creative Group, a boutique agency that helps businesses scale through digital marketing. When she's not facilitating done-for-you services, she's busy helping other business owners bust through mindset blocks that prevent them from growing both personally and professionally. And I can speak personally that Caley is amazing at her job, because I have worked with her a few years ago. I started working with her both for personal branding and also for growing my e-commerce business. And it was such an amazing experience. So thank you, Caley, for joining me here on the March Marketing Madness podcast series.
That's a mouthful. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry. I know that was kind of a crazy intro. It's funny, when I came up with the idea, I was like, it's March Madness. I'm a sports fan. And I just thought in my head, March Marketing Madness, but I didn't think about how much of a tongue twister it was going to be until I said it out loud right now. So anyways, thanks for joining. And thanks for being the first in the series. I'm very excited to have you. I think it's kind of special for me, since we have worked together and, gotten to know you and your business and how you work. And you really did help me. Any of my sort of online presence growth over the last couple of years, I think I can attribute so much of it to you and the lessons that you've taught me and the feedback you've given me. So thank you for that as well.
That's so nice.
And why don't we start with that, like personal branding, since that's something that I've personally talked about a fair bit. When I started doing it a few years ago, kind of focusing on it, it wasn't exactly a new concept in our industry, but it was a bit newer. Like optometrists weren't thinking about branding themselves. They were just thinking about, I'm working in an optometry clinic. How do I brand the optometry clinic? And now there's a lot more of it. It's great to see our industry, my colleagues have really done a great job. But let's talk about that. Let's say you have an eye care professional in front of you who wants to start getting themselves out there a little bit more. Starting from step one, kind of what's personal branding 101? What should I do to get out there?
This is a really good question. I mean, we all know social media, right? I think that that's where people are watching. And when it comes to an eye care business, I don't really think it's as much as being like, which platform is going to work best for me. I think it's just going directly where the masses are, because you're working in an industry where everyone needs you, right? Everybody needs an optometrist at some point in their lives. And so going where the volume is, like you're on Instagram pretty big, right? And so going there and being up to date on best practices. I hate to say this because a lot of people don't love being on video, and a lot of people roll their eyes at reels and dancing and mouthing things on reels. But unfortunately, we don't own the platforms, right? And so you have to play their game. And so right now, I think the places to be, unfortunately, Instagram and doing reels. That's really all you have to do is do reels, get on stories, get on IG Live, be on video, play their game, right? They want it to be video forward now. TikTok, A lot of people don't want to go over there, but there's a lot of opportunity there. And I also do still really believe in LinkedIn and YouTube as well. I think Twitter's dead. I think Facebook pages on the organic side are dead as well. But I think that's really where you're going to see the most upside. Yes, writing blogs is great, all this stuff, but where are you going to get the most return? I think it's really going to be focusing on a clear content strategy, becoming really comfortable on video, and putting the video up on the platforms where you're actually going to get the exposure.
That's great advice. And I think that's what a lot of people actually don't want to hear, but it's the truth, right? Is that like, you got to get comfortable on video. And I'm one of those people who really hated pretty hard on the whole TikTok trend of like, yeah, look at this, and this, and mouthing the words. And like you said, but that's the game they want you to play. And the people who do it, if not judging anybody, but if you do it right, obviously it gets more views and gets more followers. I actually did a lecture on this. So I did a social media lecture that was accredited for our association, and I bashed TikTok so hard back then. That was like 2 years ago. And now I'm like, I changed my tone, and I'm like, TikTok can be helpful if you do it like this and this. So anyways, I'm with you on that. Video is king, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we did a little promo post on social media before getting together and recording this podcast to kind of get a feel for what people out there, my colleagues and other people on social media would like to hear about regarding marketing. And a lot of the people that I interact with online are business owners, small business owners, and even sort of new business owners, or what do I want to say here? Starting a business cold and starting from the ground up. And one of the conversations that comes up often is lead generation. So how do we bring people in like from a cold start? Right. And I know this is something that you work on quite a bit. So I'd love for you to maybe introduce us to the concept of what is lead generation and then how we should approach it.
Sure. Yes. And I think that this is a topic and a strategy in marketing that a lot of business owners really see as one thing, right? A lot of people are like, the Google ads, right? How do I master the Google ads? But they're really missing out on the whole funnel. There's a whole series of things that have to come together in order to have a successful lead gen strategy. And when you're able to do this properly, it ends up becoming a system, right? A system that you can always have on, you can be relatively hands off, and it's going to be constantly bringing you in the leads. And for new business owners, it can be really intimidating. And so I want to back up a little bit here, because the lead generation strategy for a brand new business is going to involve a few more steps than an established business, right? So an established business, ideally, you're going to have a lot of social proof already, right? You're going to have reviews. You're hopefully going to have those Google reviews. Hopefully you're going to have some testimonials on your website. A brand new business may not have that yet. So before you start trying to draw traffic in and get all these leads, you really need to have social proof up. So if you're not actively asking your clients for reviews, make sure you start doing that, right? Now, once you have all of that set up, the first step in successful lead gen is coming up with an offer, right? What is going to entice somebody to come in? Now, I know that there are obviously regulations in your industry, in many different industries. So it's really about coming up with an offer that is going to entice people enough to come through the door. Sometimes you can lead with just straight benefits, but oftentimes you're going to want to have something like get something free in exchange, or, like discounts, or, discounts obviously work really well, or if there's anything you can give away for free. So establishing the offer first and foremost. The next step, this is the one that I see so many business owners completely missing out on. People will come up with the offer. They'll run the Google ads, the Facebook ads, the billboard, whatever, right? And they're sending everybody just to their main website. That's the number one mistake I see people making. You really need to have and should have a purpose-driven landing page. And landing pages are created very strategically and differently than an entire website, right? There's key elements there that need to happen. So ideally, this page doesn't have a navigation menu, for example, right? The page serves one main purpose, and it's to get people to put in their name and their email to receive the offer. So we don't want people to have all these other options. The more options we have when making a decision, the less likely we actually are to make the decision and to take the action, right? So that's one of the key things that needs to happen there. Another thing is the headline needs to be very benefit focused. This is a statistic from Neil Patel. I don't know if you know who he is. I'm sure you do. Yes. The king of digital marketing.
Right.
So this is a stat from him about landing pages. And so 80% of people will read the headline, and only 20% of people will read anything beyond that, right? So your headline has to be very clear and benefit focused, not like come in for an eye exam. Like it's got to be, what's the benefit? What is going to entice somebody right now to put their information in below, right?
So would that be the offer then? Would that be something that you put in the headline is like, give us your email and get a free pair of glasses, or, just to put that out there. Is that what you want to have in the headline?
Yeah. So you would probably put something like get your free pair of glasses today or something like that.
I gotcha.
It ends up oftentimes sounding like a call to action for your industry, for the eye care industry. In other industries, you might see something like, you've probably seen a lot of coaches and course creators and all of that, right? So the headline could be, stop feeling burnt out and create a life of ease or whatever, right? So thinking about what is the customer going to get in exchange. So yes, in the eye care industry, it would probably be smartest to lead with the actual offer there. And then you can have a little bit of text underneath it if you need to explain further. But making sure that the headline is really nailed in. So the key things on the landing page, making sure that you have the navigation removed, having that headline really honed in and benefit forward. You also want to have the lead form, the first lead form that you see where people can put in their email. You want to have that above the fold. So above the fold is what shows on the screen before somebody scrolls. And you want to make sure that it's like that for desktop and mobile. One other really key thing, the fewer the fields that you can have on there, the better. A lot of people are really tempted to try to get a lot of information up front, right? Yeah. They want the name, they want the address, they want the phone number, they want the email, they want you to check off extra boxes. The more fields somebody has to fill out, the less likely they are to actually fill it out, right? So generally, first name and email is going to be your best bet. And then beyond that first bit there, that's where you can put in more benefits about your clinic. You can also put in some testimonials there, and another call to action. So you don't want the only form to be at the top of the page. And so the landing page, as you can see, this is really what's super, super, super important. Because if you just send somebody straight to the website, they have so many options, right? They're going to get overwhelmed pretty quickly. They just want the offer, and they want to sign up and they want to get out. And that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. Definitely. I think that's like you said, a huge piece that many people are missing and losing out on a potential opportunity because of that. So if you wouldn't mind going through the steps again. So starting from social proof.
Yeah. So we still have some more steps to go too. So the social proof for the new businesses. And that also goes with making sure that you've got social media pages set up too, right? People are going to want to be checking you out on social media to make sure you're legit. So have your Facebook page set up, even though nobody really is going to be going there, but have it set up so that it's there. Have your Instagram going, make sure your website's live, make sure that you're getting reviews on Google and anywhere else that you can. Then you're going to come up with your offer, and then you're going to create this landing page on your website. And then the next thing is traffic. Right? Because we can make all this stuff, and if nobody's going, then it doesn't matter at all. And so this is where organic and paid traffic come in. Now, if you're just starting out, getting enough traffic is going to be tough, right? So you may actually want to then do some paid ads. And so this is where Facebook ads and Google ads can really come in handy for something like this. And on the Google ad side, specifically the search placements. So people who are actively searching, for optometrists near me, eye clinic near me, those are going to be your best bets in order to get people back and actually signing up, because the intent is quite high. Mm-hmm. And then after you've got all the traffic and people are signing up, you want to actually have those people who signed up go into an email sequence, ideally. So a sequence of emails that's going to be sent out to them to warm them up, let them know more about your clinic, encourage them to come in, and all of that, and create that relationship and continue to strengthen it until they come in.
Got you. How many emails do you think are usually required to get somebody, like on average, to kind of act on something or get them to come in the door?
Yeah, roughly? So it really depends on what your offer is.
Okay.
To be honest. So if you're offering something, are you able to offer like a free eye exam? Is that?
No, so we can't do free services, right, but we can do free products or discounted products.
Right. So it would depend on how juicy that offer is, right? It depends on how badly somebody really wants it. If it's an offer that they can get anywhere, because you do see a lot of these offers in your industry, right?
Yeah.
So if it's something that somebody can get anywhere, hard to say. But if the offer is good enough that somebody is really like, that I don't want to miss out on that, I'd say your chances are pretty high. Now, when it comes to people putting in their emails, I would say, honestly, probably a quarter of them are going to forget pretty quickly that they even did it, right? So you are going to have a chunk of people who you're not going to be able to count on converting. But if you are getting, 100 emails, and if even only 10 of those people end up coming in, that's amazing, because you're not just looking at the return on their initial visit, right? We want to talk about lifetime value.
Right.
So most clinic owners over time, if you've been in business for, more than a couple of years, you should be starting to look at what your customer lifetime value is, so you actually know what you can be spending on marketing, right? Because if your clients end up coming in to see you every 2 years, right, for 10 years or 20 years, that's worth a lot more than a client who's just going to come in once and never again, right?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I fall into that trap myself, is like, okay, well, how much did this person spend this time? But really it's, lifetime value is a super important way of looking at it. So that's great. So is there more to that, the process of lead gen, or was that the last, but the email chain that you send afterwards?
Yeah, that's pretty much the overview. I would also like to add in that I think a lot of people in professional industries or healthcare industries, they're really quick to want to call the leads, right? That very rarely works. People see that as pressure tactics, right? And so the more that you push somebody to come in, the less likely that they are to actually come in, right? People want to come in because they've decided that they want to come in. And so, that job on the business owner starts at the very beginning, right? The language that they're using in the ads on the landing page, the types of emails that are coming through then. So that's one thing I want to add, because I know that sometimes people really want that phone number and they really want to call them, but you're actually probably going to decrease the rate of coming in. And one other thing is I would try to make the offer time limited. So switch up your offers often. Don't make it something that people know, oh, I can get that anytime. Right? Because there's no urgency. So that would be one other thing I want to throw in.
That's important. Yeah, very important. Yeah, I mentioned that we can't do free services, but like that means the core services. Like we can't say you can get a free eye exam, but if anybody's offering specialty services, then of course you can do certain things on that. For example, we do certain dry eye treatments. We brought in certain dry eye and cosmetic related services that we do. So that type of stuff, because it's pay out of pocket and whatever separate, that stuff we could potentially do that on. So there's opportunity there for people who are offering those types of specialty services.
Cool. Yeah.
You alluded to it a couple times, and I know this is one of your specialties. Can we talk a little bit about Facebook ads? And I know this could be like an episode on its own, right? Or maybe a series of episodes, because it's like this wormhole you can end up in. But let's start again. Facebook ads 101. Like if I want to kind of get out there and start to make use of it, How do we get started?
Yeah, Facebook ads is a very deep topic. It's wild. I know, like, people always want to come to me to learn Facebook ads in like an hour. And I'm like, that's impossible. So I ended up, I don't run it currently, but I was running like a 3-month program to introduce people to it. That's how, and I don't want to say that to make this intimidating for people, but it is not the most user-friendly interface to work with. And you know what? Facebook does that on purpose because Facebook honestly doesn't care if you're doing it well, right? Facebook cares about one thing. They want you to spend their money. So actually it benefits them if you're not very good at them, which is kind of interesting to note. But to get started, I think that most people know you can like boost a post on Instagram or whatever. Now that's a very quick way to get into Facebook ads because Instagram ads are under the same umbrella as Facebook ads, which they're technically calling Meta ads now with their new name. But when you do that, you don't have very many options at all. And when you actually run ads inside what's called ads managers, that would be the first place to start, is to sign up for a business manager account. So you go to business.facebook.com to sign up for a business manager account. And within there, we have all kinds of different areas. We've got our ads manager, we've got audiences, data, like all kinds of different things. So you'd sign up for a business manager account. You would connect your ad account, you would connect your Facebook page, add in a payment method for ads, and then you have the structure that you need. Now, when you go to create a campaign, there's so many different options to choose from in terms of objective. And this is the first place that I see a lot of people really get lost. I'm not sure if have you attempted to run them yourself? You probably have.
I have.
Yeah.
Not successfully.
It's tough. It can be really tough. And so I think that most of the people listening are probably going to be most interested in lead gen. So I'll speak to this from that perspective instead of like an e-commerce perspective. So for lead generation, there's a few different options here. I see a lot of people default to choosing the awareness objective, which is not going to get you anywhere. The awareness objective, the way that Facebook puts that out and their goal with that is just to create awareness. It's to show the ad to as many people as possible, right? It's not to create any sort of action. What you really want to be selecting at that first campaign level in terms of objective is going to be either lead generation, which is not all types of lead generation. I'll come back to that in a second, or conversions, or traffic. Okay. And so the lead generation campaign objective on Facebook is actually on Facebook lead generation. So for this, you actually don't need a landing page, which is kind of interesting.
I see. And, so that takes them to your Facebook page then?
So it can take people to a couple of places. One is you can actually build a form on Facebook that pops up. I actually just set some of these new ones up for myself too, and I love them. So basically, you have looks like a normal ad, but when somebody clicks on it to go to the next step, instead of taking them off of Facebook, a form just pops up. And there you can have further information about your offer. And then they can put in their email and their name and hit submit. And then you can actually connect Facebook leads to your email service provider, usually through a service called Zapier. Usually have to use a third-party service to do that. And then you can send them directly into that email automation through there. So that's a good way to avoid the whole landing page thing. But if you're doing this, it's very important to have your Facebook page dialed in, have your Instagram page dialed in, because people might click through first to make sure that you're legit, right? Another thing you can do with this lead gen campaign objective is you can actually set up these automated messages in Messenger. So, so it'll look like you're actually chatting with somebody in Messenger. And you may not be, right? It's just like, it's just a bot throwing up these questions, but you can do that right on Messenger, right inside Facebook. And so that's another way to do it. I actually did those for a series of gyms. They were launching a new studio, and it was a way to talk to people about the new founding membership, and it was very successful. And within that too, because that's automated, if you're getting people's email address there, you can even follow up personally, right? If you have somebody able to facilitate that as well. And so the lead gen campaign objective is really cool. Like there's a lot of possibilities there. The other campaign objectives that can work, so conversions, which you would be selecting lead for the conversion event. Now that gets a little bit more complicated because you need to set up tracking in order to be able to check who's actually signing up. There's a number of different ways you can do that. One of the easiest ways I find is just to have a dedicated form and landing page that's only for paid traffic.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Yes. So, yes, you can set up your pixel. Everybody's heard of the tracking pixel, right? You can put the pixel on the landing page as well. But an even easier way to do it is just to duplicate the landing page and have only Facebook ads traffic going there, because Facebook tracking is not always accurate, and especially not since the iOS 14 update. So that's one way to definitely get accurate information.
So I'm already, now I know some of this because we've talked, and I already know that it's this just crazy, massive, complicated topic, Facebook ads, and I'm already kind of getting a little bit bogged down with some of this stuff. So I want to just clarify again, after we've set up our account, we got our Facebook page and everything set up. We're doing the ads manager. Is that where we're doing this? Okay.
So ads manager lives inside business manager, and that's where things get a little.
Yeah. And we want to explore the lead gen, what's it called? Objective.
Yeah. So when you go to create a new campaign, a window will pop up and it'll make you select a campaign objective. And one of the ones listed will be lead generation. So this is the objective we're talking about that doesn't require somebody to even leave Facebook. So that can be a really easy way to get started.
Yeah, that actually sounds like a pretty cool option. And I know a lot of business is done in Facebook Messenger. I know a lot of companies use that as a way to interact with their clients or potential clients. So that's pretty cool. And then, so that was one potential objective. What was the next one that you just talked about?
Yeah, the next one would be conversions. And so that would be conversions. And then at the ad set level, so after you set up the campaign level, you go to the ad set level, you'd want to select the lead event. And in order for this to work properly, you need to have lead tracking set up if you're using the lead event.
Right.
And that all happens in the events manager. And you can see why people really get intimidated.
Yeah, no doubt. So I don't want to, as people are listening to this, I don't want people to get too discouraged or confused or anything like that. So let's keep it maybe a little bit sort of higher level if we can, just to make sure people are able to kind of understand how Manager works and get started on it. After that conversion, is there another one that you would say, another objective?
Yeah, so traffic is another possibility. And so when you select the traffic objective at the campaign level, then you're telling Facebook that my main priority is just to get traffic to the landing page, right? Gotcha. Which can work really well if you've got an amazing landing page. Now, the only thing about that is that when you select the conversion objective and you've got all of that tracking and stuff in place, if you're able to do that, Facebook is actually going to send or show the ad more to people who are more likely to sign up. And
how does it determine that?
With all of their data that they're tracking on all of us.
Watching every step.
Because Facebook can tell, who's actually likely to click through, who's actually putting their email address in places. They can track all that, right? Because what happens is when we do have the lead event tracking set up, like I was mentioning, in order for Facebook to register that, right, they're grabbing the data from the other end where the conversion happens on the website, and then they're hashing that data. So they're jumbling it all up. So it's not really, there's nothing that gives away somebody's identity in that information. Then that information gets set back to Facebook and it matches with people who have seen the ad, right? And then that's how you can see on the Facebook side that, oh, hey, a lead was caused by this ad.
I got you. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's lead generation, conversion, traffic.
Traffic. Yeah.
Okay. So those are the three, the key ones.
Yeah, I would say so. And I would say, honestly, for people who really want an easy way to set all this up, maybe you don't have the time or the resources to really do every single stage of this, right? Like the landing page, all that. try the lead gen campaign. Seriously, it's very easy to set it up. And the other thing I want to say is, Facebook ads can be very intimidating for sure. Yes. However, in the eye care industry, if your main goal is to get people through the door to your clinic, for targeting, don't overthink it. You really just need to target the area around your clinic. That's it. Don't define it. Don't put any interests in. Don't do any of that, because you know what? The cost to reach a certain amount of people on Facebook is so low. Like, it's so low. I can use that series of gyms as another example. They're based in Halifax and Dartmouth, various areas in Nova Scotia. And so I don't need to target, hey, people who are interested in fitness. I don't need to do that, because the population and the area that I need to reach, I can reach that for such a low cost, right? So that's what happens at the ad set level. So don't overthink that, put in your ages, right? You probably don't want to target a 16-year-old because they're probably not making that decision, or it's not on their mind, right? So you might want to bump it up to 19, 20 and keep it, 65 plus, doesn't matter. So beyond that campaign level, I think for businesses that rely on geo-targeting, things actually do get pretty simple. People talk about how complicated Facebook ads can get, usually when they're talking about industries that have such wide possibilities, like e-commerce, for example, right? But when you're targeting specific locations, it becomes a lot easier.
Gotcha. I definitely have been guilty of doing that, overthinking it and trying to narrow it down to like the exact, picture in my mind of the person that I want to have walk through the door. And obviously that does really limit the results. So that's good advice too. Thank you. So moving on from Facebook ads, unless there's something else you'd like to add on that specific.
I think I'll leave it there, because, we could talk about Facebook ads forever, and I don't want to overwhelm people, because it is very easy to do that. So I think really, if anybody's listening, just one thing: sign up for Business Manager, try a lead generation campaign. That's it. Target the location around the clinic. Yeah. There you go.
And let's say somebody is really trying to get in depth. When does it make sense for them to talk to someone like yourself, Caley, like bring a pro in to really go deep?
I think there's two sides of that. One is going to be volume, right? So are you booked out already? If you are, you probably don't need to be doing this. If you're not booked out, do you have a few different optometrists who can take new leads, right? If you only have one, if it's only one person, hiring somebody on for this is probably not going to be cost effective, if I'm being honest. And because a good ads manager is going to cost you money, right? It's going to cost you money. So, for me, for example, I don't mind talking about my rates at all. My management fee starts from $1,500 a month Canadian, and I'm on the very low end for somebody who's an expert, right? Very low end for somebody who's an expert. And so when we look at my fee, right, plus ad spend, so let's say that we're spending $1,000 a month on this, $2,500 a month, right? You need to ensure that you have the capabilities to bring in enough new clients to actually make that worth it. So if you are a bigger practice, then yes, it probably would make sense to have somebody run it for you. If you're a smaller practice, you might want to find somebody who works as a bit more of a consultant who can actually help lead you through it a little bit. It might make more sense.
Got it. Good to know. Thank you. So how about Google Ads? I know there's been a few comments and questions about Google Ads. Any sort of advice to how to approach that, ways to make the best of Google Ads?
Yeah, for sure. So that was another area that I think people are really just relying on throwing their information up on Google Ads and hoping the magic happens, right? Google Ads is an area where you really need to have a landing page. You need to have that strategic landing page for people to go to, right? Another insight that I want to let you know about for anybody who is not a digital marketer themselves, Google Ads has this new type of campaign. I believe it's called the Performance Max campaign. I'd have to double check on that, but I believe it's Performance Max. And that campaign is quite automated. And normally, this is where Facebook ads and Google ads kind of contrast, because on Facebook ads, when you boost a post, right, you're casting a wide net and you have little control. And honestly, your results are likely not going to be great unless you get lucky. With Google Ads, if you try this Performance Max campaign, again, it does a lot of the steps for you. And you can have some really great results with that. Google has so much data and information on people, and they know what to do, right? So if you're feeling intimidated by Google Ads, because there's a bazillion options when you're setting it up, I would recommend start out by trying the Performance Max campaign. It's going to ask you to put in some headlines, some descriptions, a few images. If you want placements to show on YouTube, you can put in a video there too. But keep everything, again, really focused on that offer, right? On your lead gen offer. So whatever that promo is that you come up with, that's got to be at the forefront of the search ads or anywhere else you have it appear.
Got it. So that landing page is a pretty important piece of all of this, hey?
It really is.
And that headline, that offer is a big part of it as well. Mm-hmm. Great. So as we talked about, there's a lot of people who are listening or who had shared their questions with us online were sort of new business owners and that type of thing. Do you have any other advice for those types of businesses in general, whether they're online or in like physical businesses, for getting started online?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to come back to the review side again. The number one thing that you should be focusing on if you're new is getting social proof. Social proof, I think, is really why and how people are making their final decision these days, right? You can present people with a great offer, but once they see other people had a great experience in this place, right, they're going to come in. So I don't know about you, but when I'm looking for a new service provider, I moved back to Nova Scotia a few years ago now, and I really needed a dentist. I had a surfing accident, actually. And I really needed a dentist. And so what did I do? I looked on Google, I looked for the different reviews, and I actually read through the reviews as well. And I'm looking for ones that actually I can tell people have been there and they've experienced it, right? I'm not looking for the ones that don't have a description, because those can be friends and family. And on that note, a lot of people are very tempted to just have their friends and family go in and rank the practice. Please don't do that, because chances are, especially if you're operating within a certain location, somebody's going to know, hey, isn't that their brother? Hey, mm-hmm. Isn't that their, that's going to really damage people's perception of you, right? Oh, okay. And so again, it comes down to when you get those first few people in the door, chat to them, humanize it, right? Hey, if you had a really great experience today, I would really appreciate it as a new small business owner if you could head to Google and give us a review. I'm going to send you a follow-up email. So that's another thing, right? Have an automation that goes out to people after their visit. There's going to be an email that comes to you with a link where you can just click on it and just leave something there. It would mean so much to me as a small business owner, right? All you have to do is do that for a little bit. You get 5 to 10 reviews, super, super helpful. So I'd say that that's the number one thing, really focusing too on providing an amazing experience, right? Everybody's so focused on how can I get people to know about my clinic and get them in? But you know what? Once you get some people in and you provide an incredible experience, they're going to tell people. And in your industry, in the eye care industry, most people actually go to places that people they know recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Word of mouth is so huge. And well, I agree with your initial thought, which was, we all use that social proof, the Google reviews or whatever it is before. I do that all the time. But the other thing that the most common, we ask people where they heard about us. The most common is a referral from a friend or family, right? Somebody word of mouth had recommended us. So, and that starts from providing the best possible service. On the note of Google reviews, I've heard kind of mixed things about, having a QR code perhaps right there and then, so people can scan it and leave a review while they're standing in the office. Is that good or bad? Do you recommend that versus the email process?
That can go one of two ways. It obviously adds pressure, right? Asking somebody to do it right then and there, which on one hand is probably going to get you the review right away. On another hand, it could actually tarnish your perception a little bit, right? Mm. I have had that experience before in a professional setting, and it made me feel very strange. I won't lie, because it made me feel pressured. A lot of people want to make other people happy, right? They have a hard time saying no. So they're probably going to do it, right? But they're not doing it fully because they want to. They're doing it because they don't know how to say no right then and there. So you're actually kind of creating a bit of an inauthentic experience. And I think that a lot of people who are very business and marketing forward are going to say, just do it, just do it. But really, what are you trying to achieve here? Are you trying to achieve as many Google reviews as possible? Or are you trying to achieve authentic human relationships and experiences and showing that you actually care about that person and their wants, right?
Right.
And I think that in this industry, it's very important to play the human card, because right, it can be a vulnerable thing for some people, right? Anything when we talk about medical healthcare, any of that, right? I know we're talking about eye care here, but dentistry, definitely an area that you really want to create a good relationship, right? A lot of people don't love the dentist.
Yeah.
So for that reason, what I would recommend is following up with the email that has the link to go leave the review, but in person before they leave, saying, it was really nice to meet you today. If you had a really good experience, and again, just playing the small business owner, as a small business owner, it would mean so much to me if you would be able to do this. You're going to get an email with a link, yada, 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 right? So it's saying, this would mean a lot to me as a small business owner, but it's up to you.
Right.
You decide if you had a good experience, right?
Gotcha. So. Okay. That makes sense. I agree. I think we have gone so far in this one direction of like everything being digitized and everybody communicating through digital forms, that having that human component now is more important than it ever has been. So I would agree with that. And so, yeah, we do have a little QR code on the counter there, but we don't pressure people. It's there.
Yeah.
If they see it and they do it, great. But otherwise, yeah, we've been doing what you recommended here. I will actually, so maybe I'll, from my perspective, to my colleagues out there who are listening, I will actually ask the patient myself as we're kind of checking out. So I'll kind of feel for, I hope every patient has a great experience, but I'll kind of feel for like how happy that patient was with their experience. And then I'll usually just, as I'm kind of wrapping up, like, if you wouldn't mind, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a Google review to kind of share your experience, our staff will send you an email to follow up with you. And of course, everybody's like, yeah, of course. But like even then the conversion from those people to actually leaving a review is a small percentage. But I had to take the time to get comfortable actually asking for it. It was a bit awkward for me in the beginning, and like a lot of things are, right? But pretty comfortable with it now, because realistically, nobody's gonna be like, no, that sucked, I'm not leaving you a review. They'll, at least, like you said, they'll smile and nod, and then it was a harmless experience.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, you're not going to get everybody leave that review, right? But would you rather people be like, they go home and they call up their friend, hey, I had this really weird experience at this clinic. They pretty much forced me to leave a review right in front of them. Like, that's, you don't want that to happen. And to your point about humanizing everything today. And also, I think that's amazing that you do that as, the owner, because a lot of people will leave their admin to do it. And you know what? Everybody knows that the owner asked the admin to do it, right? So,
Yeah, right.
so I think it's really great that you're doing it yourself. And to your point there, and maybe this is something, it's a bit, parallel that somebody can use if they want. But when I have a lead come in for my business and it's somebody who I'm like, ooh, I think I'm going to want to work with them. I will actually, instead of replying by email to the initial inquiry, you know what I do? I record a video.
Oh, wow.
I record a video and I say, hey, so-and-so, really cool to get your inquiry. I see that you are interested in this and this and this, and I introduce them that way. You know why? Because people want to work with people that they like their energy. That's why in clinics such as eye care clinics, right? You're not going to necessarily see a massive difference, I think, in competency. Of course, you're going to see differences, right? But you're not going to see this massive, for the most part, right? But what's really going to have people coming back to you time and time again is a good clinic experience overall, but definitely how they feel when they're in that room with you having their examination done.
Yeah, I like that touch. That's pretty cool. And I feel like I've thought about that. I guess it's tough, but there's got to be some approach like that could work, depending on how many patients you see in a day, depending on how technologically savvy your patients are. But there could be something there where you could send a short video saying, hey, thanks for coming in. It was really great to meet you, and let us know if you have any other questions.
Yeah.
whether it's a DM on Instagram. I don't know what's appropriate. That's the other part, right?
Yeah.
But like, how much time would it really take at the end of the day to record, you know, 10, 20 videos, just like 10 seconds each, and have your staff send them out? Maybe something we could look at.
Exactly. And there are services that make that a little bit easier too, right? So I use a service called Vidyard and I love it. It's free, up to a certain amount. I've never needed to pay for it, which kind of blows my mind. And you can install it as a Chrome extension on your computer. So if you're already at a computer writing reports or doing anything, you can just click it on. You can record your screen and you, or just your screen, or just you. There's a place for notes if you want notes for speaking. When you stop recording, it opens up your dashboard for Vidyard, and you can just grab that link out of there, right? So if you have an admin, they can just go into the Vidyard account and send out those links pretty easily.
Wow. So it creates a link to the video and you email that link? And then what happens when the patient or the customer clicks on that link? What does it take them?
So it takes them to just a page that's hosted on Vidyard with just the video. But the cool thing too is you can see who clicked on the link, and you can also see how much of the video that they watched.
I'm going to check that out. Yeah. Going back to right back to the, full circle here, the beginning of the podcast, we're talking about how important video is for social media, but it could be so valuable for these types of interactions to elevate our patient's experience in no matter what industry. So I know that there's mainly optometrists, opticians, that type of people listening, but there will be people in other industries. I know because, I interact with them, financial industries, other industries that could take, I think, value from everything that you've talked about here today, Caley, including that last point. So thank you. Thank you so much again for coming on and sharing all of this amazing insight. Where can people find you if they wanted to learn more about you or connect with you?
Sure. So I tend to hang out on Instagram the most out of any of the social media platforms. So my handle is CJ Dimmock. So CJDIMMOCK. They can also find me at CaleyDimmock.com if they want to learn more about me. And I'd say that's probably the two best places. Awesome.
All right. Great. And definitely lots of great content coming from Caley. Of course, I've been following you for years, so I can speak truly about that. Any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
Ooh. One thing I will say, because I know that marketing can be very intimidating for somebody who's just opening a clinic, right? And so I will say one piece of advice I have is to ask yourself, how can I make this easy? Okay. So, like you and I were talking about Facebook ads, and, I'm starting to get into it and I'm like, oh, this is a lot. And I can see how this is going to seem very intimidating very quickly. But like I mentioned there, right? Easy way, do the lead gen campaign. So anything that you're trying to do, if you're like, oh man, I actually don't really have time or resources right now to get a landing page up to do all this, just ask yourself, how can I make this easy? How can I make this easy, right? Asking for reviews. How can I make this easy? Usually an automation that goes out via email, or, having I don't want to say, it is kind of like a trigger or a signal for yourself. So after I do this step, at the end of the exam, I ask for the review, right? So having a routine almost for it. So just constantly asking yourself, how can I make this easy? So then it all seems manageable. You don't get overwhelmed and you don't quit on your efforts.
Yeah, that's great. How do you make it easy? I think that's because this could be insanely complicated if we let it be. So that's really important, and automating as much of it as possible. That's awesome. Thank you again, Caley. Thank you so much. I look forward to sharing this with everybody. I know there's going to be so much amazing value for everyone. And thank you, everybody who's tuned in, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you listen to your podcast. Thank you so, so much. And again, make sure you throw up a screenshot. Let me and Caley know what you thought and what your favorite takeaway was. And I will be back with the next episode of March Marketing Madness next week. See you guys soon.